today, and the Russians deserve it. They've been strong on the men's side all the way through. Their women have a lot of work to do if they want to match the men at the Olympics next year. Shanka, who is one of the 15 World Cup winners this year, gets a 14th place ahead of Emil Jonsson, who faded a little, but what a great effort from Jonsson. He was there for half the race, but once the group caught him, he was spat out the back and finishes 2:13 behind.
Well, by my reckoning, that puts Lenkov as the fastest time of the day. He took 35 seconds out of Northug.
Rutta here wearing 20 up against Heikkinen of Finland on the right-hand side. I think Rutta's going to get it. He does. The race for 17th goes to the Norwegian. Heikkinen was definitely behind him. And Roland Clara in 19th for Italy. Where did Giorgio Di Cento finish in the end, Mike?
Di Cento, an amazing 7th position. He was just behind Chernusov by just over a second.
Number 26, the familiar style of the Czech Lukáš Bauer, slightly bow legs. He comes across 3 minutes down off the lead. Perhaps not his best season, but I think with the temptation of the Olympics there next year, we will see him next season.
It would be great to see Bauer back to his winning ways, and I hope he can do that for next year and the Olympic Games.
Norway totally dominant again. If you were to name one factor, other than the fact that they have so many skiers, because we've discussed that before, and the natural talent, what is it that makes them different from the other teams?
I think it's their culture of success for so many years and the depth of clubs, so that they find anyone with any talent in their whole nation. There's only 4.5 million of them. I suppose it's that for me. Yeah,
if you're a top sportsman in Norway, you're far more likely to put on a pair of cross-country skis than you are to pick up a football.
That's so true. So they get the cream of the country.
Well, the final striptease, we had a streaker at the ski jumping earlier on today. I don't think Northug will go quite that far to wrap the season up. Here is the sunburnt head of Tor Arne Hirdalen, and 29th place, so he picks up 4 World Cup points for his efforts, and Kershaw, I think, just being outsprinted by Jespersen, but at the moment Kershaw gets the benefit of the doubt there. The Canadians, Mike, they've over the last 5 years, they've been perhaps the best improved nation, but they've sort of gone over the peak and come down a little this season.
It's going to be an important summer preparation for the Olympics for them, and I suppose a large part will be backing off, not pushing so hard in the early part of the summer. Get a lot of endurance, easy mileage in to recover, because they really are spent.
Ustikov for Russia doesn't want to be outskied by Eirik Braunsdal, and he succeeds on that front. Number 51, that is Michael Sompi of Canada. He's done well to gain places up against Andrew Newell in the sprint here. So the 2 North Americans, and it's a USA who come out on top in that little duel. Number 40, that of course is Hannes Dotzler of Germany. Remember, only the top 50 in the World Cup standings invited to compete here in Falun at the World Cup finals. It's a good format. I guess those who finish outside the top 50 of the World Cup standings go for an early off season. Now, Mike, with you, I guess you went home to reunite yourself with your family at the end of a season. What are most of these guys going to do? Are they heading for the beach, or are some of them just not going to be able to put the skis away?
From what I hear, some home time for most, and then there's some are taking a team break to a sunny environment to have a complete break, and then later on they're going to, like, Lanzarote, somewhere where they can get some good mileage-based cycling training in, so warm, a complete change, and then rebuild, regenerate, rebuild, and just figure out where they want to be next year and how they're going to do it. And then a huge summer, distance training initially, and then of course the speed work coming in later.
Well, let's have another look at the champion for 2013, Petter Northug, who had the race under control from the very first second, an advantage of 30 seconds off the line. He managed to maintain it all the way through. The time he finished is irrelevant today. It's all about position, and he takes the mini tour. He takes the overall World Cup title for only the second time. He won it in 2010. He wins it again in 2013. The duel between Colonia and Northug goes all the way to next year's Olympic season.
It's going to be a good one. It's going to be a great one, and it's a pity that Colonia, he certainly lost that little spark, somewhat a percentage in his performance, and just so fatigued from the long season.
The tall figure of Len Valius of Canada coming up the home straight.
Remember, he started the season with those 3 broken fingers, kept racing through it. I was impressed. Just 2 weeks after breaking them, he was racing up in north of Finland.
Well, 1 or 2 athletes still out on the snow. The spectators all now heading back down to the stadium, and hopefully they'll get a glimpse of the medal ceremony that's coming up in just a couple of minutes' time. Northug, Kroc, Sundby are those victorious, and the positions they finished today, of course, absolutely correspond with their positions in the World Cup final mini tour. Emil Jonsson, 15, Eldar Roning, who won the classic race yesterday, pushed all the way down into 16th. It was always going to happen. It was just a question of how far down the order he was going to go.
I wonder if Roning, like Sundby 2 years ago, I wonder if he's going to really concentrate on getting his freestyle, his skating, up to the level of the best. Remember, Sundby did it. He was really off when it came to the freestyle.
I think it's unlikely. I think he'll say, I'm so good at classic, that's where my chances of getting Olympic glory are, and that's my chance of getting into the Norwegian team. So I think he'll go for the big one next year in Sochi. The season is finally over, and I'm sure a few of you having withdrawal symptoms already, because all the winter sports have been fantastic. The jumping finalised this morning with David Goldstrom. The biathlon last weekend, an outstanding season in the biathlon. And the cross-country, I think really, Mike, they've benefited from some very brave decisions as far as the race formats are concerned. They're not frightened of the sprints. They've learned the best format for the sprints. It doesn't need to go on all day. Cut out the sort of the quarterfinals and the 8th finals. Just make it a great climax. And the mass start racing. At last, the racers are starting to enjoy it.
They are, and the strategies are still evolving, because how do you beat Northug? You can't. So the break in, the mass starts comes so much earlier, and of course that amazing race from Olsen in the 50-kilometre at the World Championships. For me, that's one of the highlights of the season, the most spectacular race.
Yeah, and that is why someone like Northug is so good for the sport, because others have to work out how to beat him, which is what they've done. Martin Fourcade in the biathlon, exactly the same. There are going to be a lot of people at home saying, how do we beat this guy who now sprints into the range to gain himself 50-60 metres? And that's just what the sport needs. It needs personalities. It needs people who are hugely talented like Northug, and it's nice to see him back on the top. Maybe next year it will be someone else. Who else has a chance other than Colonia and Northug?
Well, I think Ustikov, this young... That's the energy. I think Ustikov is a real player for next season. I hope Andrew Musgrave and Andrew Young as well, hope they'll be in the picture. I think they will be. And Belov, the young Russian as well. So there's some talented Russians coming through. Jespersen, he's been around some time, but maybe Jespersen and Eliasson, the Norwegians, coming through as well next year.
So there we have confirmation that Northug is the overall champion, and the margin looks very substantial after today's race. He finishes a whopping 180 points clear, having picked up 200 points today. And of course, Legkov, with that sprint finish, a successful sprint finish against Colonia, has secured second place, his best ever season. And Dario Colonia, I guess, having won the last 2 years, will be a little bit disappointed with third.
I think he will. Dario would have liked, obviously, to take the whole season, to be that once again the overall World Cup leader, but not to be.
Alex Harvey drops from the top 10 all the way down to 34. Roning, who was raced very sparingly, but he's had a certain amount of success outside the top 30 as well. Noah Hoffman of USA is there in the top 50. That is a major achievement for him. Axel Teichmann, former overall World Cup winner, down in 61st position. Øystein Pedersen, great sprinter on his day, finishing in 74 ahead of Chris Freeman of USA. Ishida of Japan in the women's tour has done very well. And look at number 83, Andy Musgrave. Okay, 83 doesn't sound so impressive, but he has put in some fantastic races, particularly at the under 23 World Championships.
I think, yeah, fourth in the under 23 World Champs behind Ustikov, Belov. I think it was an incredible result, and it shows what he is capable of in the future, certainly, and I hope for the Olympic Games.
Business as usual. I hope we get a moment to have a chat with Peder Northug. He's been on good form this year, hasn't he, Mike? Particularly enjoying his comments after he won a time trial, saying he doesn't like the guys who just hang in the group and then out-sprint everyone into the finish. Today, he's done it all on his own. He started with a 30-second lead, and he held on to that pretty much all the way through until the last 200 metres, where he just wound it down and crawled across the line to take the title for 2013. What will be coming his way next year?
I think with Northug as well, he worked a lot in the summer at his weaker element, which was his classic, and then coming through to win an individual time trial in classic this year. So he really has landed as a complete all-rounder.
Well, most people will head to the beach for a couple of weeks of relaxation. Northug's might be heading to Las Vegas. He enjoys a couple of days on the tables just to relax, take his mind away. There's no doubt about it, he is different.
He had a race down there as well, didn't he, in the sand dunes on skis with one of his teammates.
Well, there'll be many young skiers just looking at the videos, trying to work out what he does that nobody else does. The Norwegian fans are well travelled and well rewarded this year.
I think at the World Championships, the Norwegian spectators, they gave the World Championships life. There was just a red blanket of what, some 7,000-8,000, and on some days they made up the majority of the spectators.
Well, if we were going to look at the number of gold medals, the number of world champions per head of population, I think Norway would come out on top by a fair margin. Over the last 20 years, they have just got it right. It's to do with the schooling, the culture, the fact that success leads to success. Someone has got to work out how to beat them. They're all exhausted, but they're all in exactly the same colour suit. Well, we just get to see the winter season, Mike, and all the racing, but I think it probably has to be said that the summer months is when all the hard work is done.
It is, and when you look at, I was looking at some of his achieved training that Northug has done through September. They're phenomenally hard weeks with like 6 times 1 kilometre on a running track after 3 hours easy distance and roller skis in the morning. So it's distance, then intensity, and up 30 hours a week minimum of quite a hard physical. So in order to be this good, there's a whole lot of work has to be put in.